Okay, so again, if it was asking for a decimal, you could just move it over, but it's actually asking for a fraction, so let's do that. Now, reducing fractions, most of the time my teacher just like cross stuff out and start saying stuff. What is really happening is you're seeing like what can divide both of these numbers on the top and bottom. So they're both even. You obviously want to find a bigger thing because it's going to be less work, but I'm just going to pick a 2 for now, and hoping that that's big enough. So 42 divided by 2, as long as I do the same thing on top and bottom, that's fair game, fair play. 42 over 2 is 21. 100 divided by 2 is 50. So the only things that can divide 21 are 3 and 7, and those cannot divide 50. So this would actually be my simplest terms. This blue, or that's not blue, purple step is normally not shown. A lot of times teachers will just go like this. They'll go like that and say 21 and 50. Again, how they got there was they divided the top by 2 and the bottom by 2. I'll probably eventually start to do this, but for now, I'll show the division sign just to kind of show you what's happening mathematically. So again, we're trying to convert this into a decimal. Like I said, we get rid of that percent sign and just move it 2 places to the left. So that becomes 1.20. You do not need the 0 on the end. You can just have it as 1.2. If you put answers into ALEKS, I don't know if it's going to count 1.20 wrong. It might. So I would just in Habit just write 1.2. Again, if I'm going too quick, feel free to say something, unmute yourself. If you say something in the chat and I don't say anything, remember, I'm not ignoring you. I just did not see it. Zoom does not have a great like notification feature for me. So again, writing this decimal in percent form, we can just move this 2 places to the right, giving me 27%. A lot of times people will just multiply by 100, which works, I believe, in most cases as well. Because again, 0.27 times 100 would equal 27, but you would have to know to add on the percent onto the end. Multiplying by 100 is the same as moving the decimal place 2 places to the right. Now, this is of concept isn't like bad. I think it's good, but English is just hard. So this is a good way to think about it. That is equals and of means multiply. Again, times means that's the same as multiply. But yeah, you'll just kind of see what I'm saying, why sometimes it's like, oh, I don't love that. So it says find 38% of 400. So again, I don't really love the percents, so let's convert that to 0.38. And then of 100 just means multiply. I'm not going to use a dot here because of the dot 38, so I'm going to use an X, which I don't really love to use X as multiplication because of like the letter X, you know. Hopefully you know what I'm saying there. But yeah, I'll stop talking about X. So 0.38 times 400, giving me 152. So that is not the same thing. Not that same thing as 38% off. Okay. Again, take note of that. That's not the same thing as 38% off. Next one, 17.49 is 20% of what amount? Okay, so this is where it gets a little bit confusing. So it says is means equals. So 1749 equals 20%, so 0.2 or 0.20 of something. Okay, so again, X can get confusing here because X is usually known as that missing variable. For today, I'm just going to use the question mark for what amount. Again, what amount is representing that question mark. So hopefully I'm not going to be too confusing here, but when we multiply, if I'm trying to get that question mark alone, I want to do the opposite of multiplication to both sides, which would be to be doing division. So I'm going to divide by 0.2. There might be an easier way to do this, and feel free to unmute yourself and tell me the easier way. But this is kind of how I do it. Hopefully it's not too complicated, but just doing the same thing to both sides, giving you 87.45. Because realistically, like if you're at the grocery store, you're not going to need to know. I feel like this scenario doesn't come up a lot. If you guys know what I'm saying, like where the original amount was 87.45 and you need to know 20% of that number. I guess maybe you would, but I feel like it's more often in this format there where you just need to know what to multiply. Yeah, so again, this one here is not the same as 20% off. That 1749 is 20% of the 87, so that would actually be 80% off, which I would prefer that to my 20% off. And then what percentage of 42? So again, what percentage? That's the thing I don't know. Of means multiply. 42 equals 15. So again, I'm looking for some percentage there. It says round to the 10th place, so I'm going to divide by 42 on both sides. Since I'm multiplying right here, I got to do the opposite to both sides, so I divide by 42. 15 divided by 42 equals 35.357. So it says round to the 10th place. Remember, that's the very first place after the decimal. So that 57 is going to make me go up to 0.4, which I feel like that is not a great way to. Oh, 35.7. Ah, wow. You guys, somebody could have total freedom to shame me here. I rounded a little bit too early. It's asking me to turn that into a percentage and then round to this 10th place. So hopefully you guys are understanding why I made that mistake and realizing that I feel like you would deserve full credit if somebody gave me 40%, because if you rounded there, it would have been 0.4, making it 40%. But I'll stop talking about that. Hopefully that makes some sense. Okay, so looking at our question 7 here. So 12% of residents don't have great internet access. And for the people that keep getting kicked out of the Zoom, sorry if that is you. So there's 800,000 residents here without broadband access. What's the total population? So again, we want to know the total. And if 12% of the total, so I'm going to say that in words, if 12% of the total is that 846, 920, again, that of means multiply, that is means equal sign. So again, I would just do that total times that 0.12, equaling 846, 920. Again, since that's a number that's pretty large, remember I encourage you guys to use the comma after three places as you move left. So again, from here, again, there might be easier ways to do this, but hopefully you're seeing that there's multiplication happening in between total and 0.12. So I'm going to divide by 0.12 on both sides, giving me that total population.
Is there a reason we're taking off the 0.4 on the 12.4%?
No. Thank you for reminding me. I will go ahead and add that in. Thanks, Steven. Yep, that was my bad. It's me moving too quick. I have this kid this semester that he will like yell shame like unbelievably loud. I love it personally, but there's a lot of people that think it's really annoying. But Steven would have full right to yell it real loud right there.
I gave you a free one that time.
It's great. I'm not like secretly fishing for you guys to say it either. I'm just reminiscing on my immature high school students. So again, that total population would be those people there. Thank you for catching that, by the way. I think it's because I put 12% up here and just then stopped reading the actual question. So alrighty, so real estate developer, looking at this condo complex, if you're promising that much of a return in 4 years, he's promising that after 4 years, I would say, because when I did this the first time, I thought that it was asking you to say that you would get that much of a return every year. And so I kind of messed that up. So just know that that's after 4 total years, you're going to get that much back. So if you're going to do 30,000 to this developer, how much money will you have in 4 years? So you want to know what is 145% of 30,000, because that's how much you're going to end up with. So again, that question mark, that what is means equal. The 1.45, and then that of is 30,000. So that 145, 1.45, actually, to be more specific, to be 43,500. Okay, I'll put that dollar sign up front. So again, I was doing this thing where I wanted to know, you guys might not care, but maybe you do if you're doing investment stuff. Let me know if you have anything that's going to hit big soon. I'd love to make some good money. So I thought it initially, you don't need to copy down this purple part, by the way. I thought it was initially asking me after each year. So when I did this question initially, I thought I was getting 45%, 145% return each year. So I was multiplying like this, and then I was getting a number, moving it down there, multiplying it by 145. But again, that's not what it was asking. So just kind of making sure you're double checking your work. And personally, if I was investing, I would want to know how much am I getting back after 1 year, not 4 years total. But that's just me. Almost done in here, so thanks for hanging in there. We'll have another break here soon. So I think I also kind of have my qualms with this like big equation up here, because I think intuitively it makes a little bit more sense to think about the question in more of a, like, if I'm sitting at the store, like I'm not going to probably work out this long equation here. But it is important to know what the question is actually asking. So if this refrigerator has a regular price of $11.49 and $1,200 at Lowe's, notice that the price went up. Okay, so it was an increase from Home Depot to Lowe's. So it says, how much less is the regular price of the refrigerator at Home Depot when compared to the refrigerator at Lowe's? So it's not asking percent. It's just asking how much, just like literally what are the amount of dollars you're paying. So I made this way more complicated than I needed to. And it's really just asking you to subtract those two things. So again, it's just asking you how much less is it, nothing about percentage. So it's just $70 less at Home Depot. Okay. So it says, what is the percent decrease, that relative change, when comparing the regular price of the refrigerator at Home Depot to the refrigerator at Lowe's. So it's looking like this Home Depot, I believe, would be your original. And then the Lowe's would be the new. So if you're following the formula, we would do the new number, so 1219 minus 1149, which we already did that up there. We know that it's 70, all divided by the original, which again is, did I mess that up? Yeah, no, I didn't. 1149. Common thing that happens is people get to here and they want to go like this, which isn't a bad thought. We should get in the habit of recognizing some things like that. But what happens is you're kind of breaking order of operations. You would have to subtract these first before you can cancel those out. Just kind of a side note, there's going to be a lesson on that in days to come, but just know that you should subtract on top first to get 70 divided by 1149. So again, you're probably not going to sit at the grocery or Lowe's and do this equation, but this is saying that there is a 0.0609 is that decimal. So it looks like it would round, that would become 0.0609%, which rounding that to the 10th place, that would be 6.1%. Again, for me, I'm probably not going to solve it that way if I'm sitting there at the store, but that's just one way you can do it. So if it's, what if I reverse the order of comparison? What's the absolute change when comparing the refrigerator at Lowe's to the refrigerator at Home Depot? So again, the absolute change is still 70 because you're just subtracting you're just going to subtract your two numbers. Still just a $70 difference. And then that relative change, it's asking for that, the actual equation. So again, that new price is now the 1149. You're subtracting 1219, all divided by 1219. That new amount minus original. So again, giving you negative 70 on top divided by 1219. So they didn't involve absolute values at all, which again, absolute values turns things positive. And I'm going to double check my answer here so I don't screw this up. Huh. Did I do it wrong before? Part B. I flip-flopped those. Sorry, guys. What did I do here wrong? Percent decrease. So the original was Home Depot. This percent decrease when comparing the regular price. I'm interpreting that as I went to Home Depot first and then I went to Lowe's, but I guess they're interpreting it as I went to Lowe's first and then I went to Home Depot. So I apologize there. So then they're interpreting this as I went to Home Depot. So yeah, I guess I interpreted this as I went to Home Depot first, then I went to Lowe's, and then I went to Lowe's first, then to Home Depot, but they actually interpreted it the other way. So I apologize for reading that incorrectly, but they're not the same percent because we had different starting amounts. So technically, again, according to the answer key, sometimes word problems can be frustrating like that. So technically, these answers should be flipped, B and D, but I would argue if you made that mistake that you should get the points back, but maybe I'm just biased because I made the mistake. But yeah, hopefully that's making a little bit of sense how I interpreted that. But I'm not going to waste much more time on it. Yeah, I think that's just a semantics thing. So I apologize if I threw you guys off for that. So we've got 30 minutes left, a little over halfway done. So if we're looking at this percentage off concept, we want to trust. I mean, I usually just trust it. I don't really look at it that hard, but sometimes, like when I'm comparing prices, I want to see how much lower it is. So if this refrigerator is 30% off with a sale price of $749, what would make the original selling price? So it's 30% off. So that means we're paying 70%. If we're paying 70%, that means we're paying 70% of something. So the original, and we're paying 70%, and that has to equal my new price of $749. So again, how do we get it alone? We divide by 0.7 on both sides, so that original is equal to 749 divided by 0.7. So that original price, when we did that in our calculator, is 1,070. 1,070. Similar concept for these next two. So basically we want I'm gonna always work off like the original. So if Ivy bought a phone for $738, Ivan said that is 7% more than he paid. How much did Ivan pay? So Ivan paid less. Ivan paid less than Ivy. So there's a couple ways you can think about this. You can treat that as Ivan times 1.07 equals 738 because Ivy's going to be more. Or if I change this to purple, you could treat that as Ivy times 0.93 because she's 93% of Ivy is Ivan. So I think the red is a little bit less confusing, but that's just me. So dividing by 1.07 on both sides will give me the price of Ivan. A lot of times when I'm doing this at the grocery store, I will mess this up. So sometimes I like to just double check what I'm doing and make sure I know what I'm talking about. If you don't care about saving money, it doesn't really matter to you, most likely. But So that was how much I paid, but then it says round to the nearest dollar. So $6.90. Again, lots of different ways you can do it. I think the purple is more confusing. I think the equation up here is not always helpful because if you were trying to find the original amount, you have two original amounts. The algebra can get pretty confusing there. So that's why I suggest doing this this naming concept and then the percentage and then the number that you actually know what it is. So last one here, and then we'll take a quick break again. So this bird flu caused an increase in 49.1% of eggs. So what would I have paid for those eggs in November 2021? So the original went up by 49%. And that has to equal the new outrageous price of eggs, which is literally so annoying. I don't know if anyone else feels that, but I think it's killing me. My wife loves eggs. And then we would divide by that 1.491 on both sides to get that original price of 2.41. So that is the end of that section there. Again, feel free to be asking questions. I don't want anyone falling behind here. Again, I just like to usually break it down into a simple equation like this. You're basically, if it's an increase, you're probably adding, like how this was more and then an increase, we added it to 1. And then since it was 30% off, we subtracted it from 1 to get 0.70. So basically, you're just adding or subtracting from 1 based on what you want to multiply.